by thanking each and every one of you for listening. So I just want to share with you a little bit of a story. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about when I was growing up. So I got to the age of about 16. During my childhood years I used to play football, and my father didn't used to really like the idea of that. He wanted me to study and do all these things, and then I got to 16 and I started to gamble. I was influenced by my friends and I was gambling. I spent the years between 16 to 21 gambling while I was working on minimum wage in supermarkets and factories. Now I dropped out of college. at the age of 17. I got to 21 and I started to make a little bit of money from gambling. Now my friends wanted to be part of that, and I didn't want to get involved with them, gamble with their money, and they said it's only 1 or 2 grand, it doesn't matter. If it loses, it loses. Now I reluctantly gave in to the pressures at the time, and what happened was, in a matter of weeks, 1 or 2 grand turned into about 9 grand. They were really excited, and they thought, okay, if we put 10, 20 grand in, we'll get 90 grand or 180 grand, 45 grand, and I knew that wasn't going to happen. Now there was 3 brothers, and I reluctantly gave in to the pressures again. Now what happened? £40,000 was lost. That was the result. Now I was faced with some very serious death threats, and I was at a stage in my life where I didn't know what to do, where to turn, and I was being threatened to get the money from my father. The threats were quite serious, so I turned to my father. Me and my father didn't really have a good relationship up until that point, and he also worked on minimum wage like myself, and he said, let's go to the police. I said, that's not an option. Based on the threats that I was receiving at the time, it wasn't an option. So my father reluctantly took out loans and borrowed off relatives. Father raised £19,000 for these people. We went to service stations and car parks. We paid them in cash instalments over a 3-month period. Now, at that time, I felt completely broken inside. I felt I had no purpose left to live. I didn't want to be here. I felt completely broken. Spirit was crushed. And each time we went to those service stations and car parks, my father would make me count every note. And I didn't know what or how, but all I knew is that I have to pay my father back. I didn't feel that I had to owe these people this money because I was pressured to do it and I didn't want to do it. But I didn't have the voice to speak up, and I felt crushed. Now, we paid the £19,000 to these people with the agreement that after it was paid they'd leave me alone. They agreed. They sent middle people to come and collect the money. And then once the last instalment was paid, I felt like a massive cloud had been lifted. I felt like I could breathe again. And then what happened? A few weeks went by and they asked for my passport and a bill. Now, me not wanting to rock the boat, not receive the same threats as before, I gave them my passport and bill. Now, 8 months went by, living at my family home with my mother and father. 11 undercover police cars outside my house, sniffer dogs, and my family home turned upside down, raided by the police. That day I was arrested. I was arrested for a £38 million VAT fraud committed in my name. Now, I wasn't just dealing with the people who took £19,000 from my father, but I was dealing with some serious organised crime gangsters. I was met at the police station by bent solicitors, corrupt solicitors, instructed, threatened to give no comment interviews, which I did. Now I did that for 2 years in and out of police stations. No comment interview, under threat. Eventually I got charged with the offence in 2011. I got charged with the offence. 2011 was an interesting year in my life. That was a year of transformation. That was a year where I started to find peace. I didn't know what a distraction was until that point. I started to look at life a bit deeper. I started to reflect a little bit deeper. I started to find my true self. I cut off all my distractions. There's a lot of distractions in this life, and sometimes we don't know what a distraction is because we're accustomed to them. I cut off all my friends. Now I'm not telling you to cut off any of your friends, but I cut off my friends, and what I found was I started to find some peace within, because I didn't know which friends I could trust, which ones I couldn't trust. I cut a lot off. And as I started to find this level of peace within my spirit, I got addicted to this feeling. Because the only feeling I had prior to that, up until that point, was the fear of death and jail for a crime I didn't commit. These were the only two thoughts in the forefront of my mind and spirit. So I got addicted to this feeling of peace, and I started to gain a slight bit of purpose to live. Before I had no purpose to live. When I was given the £19,000 to these people, I felt completely crushed, I felt sabotaged, and I felt broken. Now I started to feel this level of peace in my spirit. I liked the feeling of that, and momentum started to kick in. So a slight bit of purpose started to kick in. Then I started to get more purpose, eventually leading me towards the end of 2011, where I decided to go away for 3 days. Never done anything like that before. Now I didn't go nowhere special, I didn't have much money. And I just spent 3 days. I thought, okay, what do I want to do in this lifetime? What do I want to do? What do I want to be? What do I want to have? If I didn't have to count the consequences or the cost, if I didn't have to think about my circumstances, because there's too many years of my life I focused on death, not leaving my house, not worrying what might happen, or jail for a crime I didn't commit, potentially 15 years. Now I was at a stage in my life where I wasn't giving any energy whatsoever to my circumstances, because I got addicted to this feeling of peace, and eventually started to focus on those 3 days that I went away, what I actually want to achieve in this lifetime. Being as ambitious as possible, not thinking about what might happen or what could happen, but what I want to happen, dreaming as big as I possibly can. So day one I started focusing on what I want to do in this lifetime. I started to write it down, switch the laptop off, the phones off, everything, cut out, bang. And I started to feel elevated. That was day one. Day two I started to ask myself, what goals, what do I need to do to make this happen? What actions do I need to take to make this happen? And then day three was why? Why is this important to me? Why is it important to me? 3 months time I'm going to trial for a crime I've not committed, I'm going to court. And I certainly haven't come away for 3 days to set 3-month goals. I've come here to work out what I want in this lifetime. And I'm not giving absolutely any energy to this trial, because I've been defined by my circumstances for far too long. So I fast forward a little bit. My friend invited me to an event. It was a property event. I said, what am I going to do there? And he said, oh, they teach you how to invest in property. I said, listen, I ain't got no money. He said, it costs £20. I said, I ain't got £20, what am I going to do? He says, at Chelsea Football Club, I'll pay for you £20. I said, alright, cool, at least I get to see the stadium. But I'm not a Chelsea fan. But, yeah. So I went there, and I saw a room full of people. One person saying I'm making £5 a month, another one saying I'm making £10 a month. And then there was a guy on the stage sharing how you can do this strategy with no money down. You don't have to put much money into these deals, and you can make a decent amount of money, become financially free. And he tried selling a course at the end for £600, which I couldn't afford. But it was the first time I'd been exposed to an environment like that. And when I looked around the room, I saw everyone in this room is human, just like me. I've got an opportunity. So I went away, started taking action, not knowing what I was doing. Made loads of mistakes. I tried striking these deals. I couldn't tell no one, couldn't tell my family. What, you think you're a property investor now? You're going to trial in 3 months, son. So I started to try and land these deals, nothing come through. I went to trial in March 2012. Same time I was working night shift in the factory because I didn't want to lose my job. So I do 10:30 at night till 6:30 in the morning, get home for 7:30, shower up, get on the 8:30 train, get to court for about 9:30, be at court till 5 PM, get back and go to work. That was my lifestyle. If I knew about green smoothies or Inspire, I would have probably been here at that time. But I didn't. So I was running on Red Bull, Lucozade and a bit of meditation. That's what was keeping me going. And my wife. Now the first opportunity came. The first deal came. Came in March. Same time I was doing night shifts. Same time I was at trial. And I took it just like that. I couldn't miss it. My solicitor said, "You're crazy." I said, "Hold on a minute. Crazy for what? What exactly am I crazy about?" He said, "You've got no time to sleep and you think you're now a property investor. I don't think you realise the seriousness of this case. You actually don't have no time to be this so-called property investor." I said, "Listen, you're a solicitor. You're there to provide me advice on legals, yes. You're qualified to do that. But what qualifies you to define the depths of my dreams? Nothing." So I took the deal. Put trust in the universe. I didn't know how I was going to make it happen. Work out the hows after. I took the deal. What happened the following days and weeks? I would go to court and there would be adjournment dates. What that means is you go to court and they say, "No court today, you can go home." In that time I used wisely to set up this property, no money down deal, didn't put much money into the deal, and I replaced my minimum wage income within 3 weeks of that deal. And the only thing that was going through my mind, body and spirit at that time was, where's deal number 2? Where's deal number 3? 2 weeks before the verdict. But before I get there, I'll just share something with you. So I went to trial. And I was, for the first time, face to face with some of the nasty people behind this crime. Who sat behind the glass. 7 defendants. It's a VAT fraud. What that means is £38 million was shifted from this country abroad using bank accounts that were made in my name. My identity was used and the blame was on me. 6 companies paid the tax. This guy hasn't paid it. We're legit. This guy's the fraudster. That's what that means. Paperwork had been signed in my name. Text messages, phones had been taken out in my name. Laptops taken out in my name. Email addresses made in my name. On paper, I was guilty. So I was asked to stand in the box to give evidence. Now my solicitor said to me, "We'll try and get you a medical report to say you're not fit enough to give evidence, because sometimes when somebody speaks the truth, they still end up going to prison. It's what the jury believe." And I said, "You know what?" I said, "I don't think you get it. I don't think you get it. I don't know how many other people this might have happened to. I don't know. But one thing I know is what I want to do in this lifetime, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to speak my truth." And I did that. I was cross-examined for 5 days. But guess what? 5 days, for the first time I stepped in that box, 10 minutes I couldn't even answer my name properly and I was shaking. Probably because I never stood in front of that many people before. There's about 7 different legal teams in that courtroom, 100 people. And I was shaking. The judge could see. The judge said, "Let's call for adjournment, have a 10-minute break." So I went into the room by myself, because you're not allowed to speak to your legal team. The only thing that was flowing from my mind, body and spirit in that moment was, I'm not even supposed to be here. My mission's far bigger than this. My purpose is far bigger than this. I spent a bit of time by myself. I meditated. Spent 5-10 minutes meditating, asking myself what I'm here for. And I stepped back outside. And I came back into that courtroom, and I got laughed at when I made my way to that room. I got laughed at. I came back into the courtroom. Now, I guess what I realised was, before that break, I was getting laughed at because people thought that this case is nothing. And I came out the real version of me, the right version, because sometimes we've all got different versions in us. Sometimes we get out of touch with the right version. And I knew who the right version is. It's knowing who we are. So I stepped forwards. The right Peter Singh, the real Peter Singh. So he started asking me questions, and what you saw in the courtroom was a rap. It was a question being questioned to me, and I was questioning the question back. They didn't have no answer. It was almost like I was questioning them. And what you saw is a courtroom full of jaws dropping. The prosecutor had nothing to say. The judge actually went out of his way to protect me. 2 weeks before the verdict, I took deal number 3. Not guilty. Now I was driven more than ever before. That day I left that courtroom. For some reason the air felt a little bit more fresher than usual. and everything went from strength to strength. Now, I didn't get into property investing because I see myself as a businessman, far from that. It was just the first branch that was there to create a bit of freedom in my life, and I latched onto it because I wanted to do best for my family. From there it went strength to strength. By the end of the year, I was achieving more income than I'd earned in my entire life put together. I was then invited to do an interview with the UK's largest property trading company, which I did. And then I was invited to speak at Wembley Stadium in front of 1,000 people, and the guy said, "Are you sure you want to do this?" I said, "Of course I'm sure." He goes, "You do realise there's 1,000 people?" I said, "Yeah, that's cool, that's fine. I don't think you realise the depths of my dreams." And I did it. What come off the back of that? The guy said to me, "I want you to come and teach for my UK, for my training company. I want you to come and teach what you're doing, how you did this." I said, "I don't think you realise, mate. I don't think you realise. I'm here to work for myself, my dreams, my values, my beliefs." So I set my own training company up. And since then, things went from strength to strength. I coached over 800 people nationwide with the strategy. But then I started to realise, and I didn't know this existed, that when you're a property investor, you get put in this box. I was one of them. He's a businessman. He's a property investor. I was thinking, hold on a minute, I've got loads of depths to me. What? This is just one branch. It's a whole tree. It's a whole tree, and you're labelled as a property investor. You're in this box. No, that's not what my life's about. Far from it. And I saw it. I saw how quick judgments come just like that. For me, it was like, no. Property investing is just a vehicle. It's a tool to allow me to do what I really want to do, which is reach out and create change. And it's allowed me to do that. But sometimes in life, we go through pain, we go through threats, we go through challenges. And the only reason I share this with you is because I know that sometimes in life we have dirt thrown at us. Dirt gets flicked into our eyes. But it's not the dirt that's being flicked into our eyes that matters. To an eagle, all that matters is flying above the dirt. Being a pigeon is not an option. Thank you.
Peter Singh, ladies and gentlemen, oh my god, how amazing was that? I know I have said the word amazing a lot tonight, it's true, but that was fucking amazing, let's face it. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to that book coming out.
You can catch me up on YouTube channel.
You do have a YouTube channel.